Okay, well, again, welcome everyone. This is the first of the series. We're launching a new Lunch and Learn series for the fall. Um, the North Carolina Silk hasn't done this in the past, and there's so much information that exists out there for people with disabilities and individuals who support them. And we are trying to help get some of the information out that we think is often not easily available or accessible or people might know about, or it's a topic very important that we really want people to know about. For example, in September, our Lunch and Learn is going to be about voting, which is very, very important year to vote. Every year is important, and it's just as important to vote locally as it is for when there's presidential elections. And then in October, in celebration of Disability Employment Awareness Month, we're going to have some folks from NC Able join us. So, but this is our first Lunch and Learn. So, Dewal and Natalie, thank you so much for being here with us today to talk about the Lotus ring. If you could please do your introductions, and I'm going to just turn it over to the two of you.
Sure.
Awesome.
I can go
Natalie, do you want to go first?
and
Yeah,
and then I'll introduce you.
sure,
Hi
sure.
everyone, I'm Natalie. I'm head of accessibility and operations at Lotus. I'm a white woman in my 30s with short brown hair. I am also disabled. I am legally blind and hard of hearing. And I'm in Toronto, Canada right now.
Mhm.
I'll pass it over to you, Devil.
Yeah. Hey everyone, my name's Daval. I am a brown guy with currently wearing a blue checkered shirt with gray curtains in the back. Middle-aged guy, currently in China, actually, just to set up Lotus manufacturing, but usually in California, uh, where I used to work for Apple, and so that's why I'm in the Bay Area in Silicon Valley. Happy to share more about Lotus. Gloria, Monique, should we just get started?
Yes, please do.
Okay, great.
Yep.
So I'm going to keep it fairly casual, where maybe I'll spend 2 minutes sort of giving a quick overview of how Lotus got started and my own story, and then we can jump right in, show you how the technology works, and then we can sort of just have a conversation. Folks can just ask questions about anything that they can think of, if that sounds good.
Yes, it does.
Okay, so thanks, Monique and Gloria. It's good seeing you guys again. For the rest of you all, we met at Nickel, like Gloria was just saying in July. So the story of Lotus really starts with me. I was born with twisted knees, and me and my brother both. And over the years, I've been on and off crutches a lot. One night a few years ago, I got into bed having left the lights on accidentally, but I was too tired to get out of bed, hop onto my crutches, hobble 10 feet, turn off the light, and vice versa. So I just slept with the lights on the entire night and woke up in the morning thinking, well, if someone like me, I'm an electrical engineer, I used to manage a division at Apple. I have worked at the company that makes wall switches at Lutron. I have a bunch of patents. If someone like me doesn't even have smart home technology in their own home, who does? And so I started researching, and it turns out about 91% of US homes were built before smart homes even existed. But there's no easy way to upgrade, right? Even if you wanted Alexa to say control your lights, well, the first step is you have to rewire all your existing wall switches to connect to the internet to be able to talk to Alexa. That's step one. Step two, then you have to put speakers in every room to control the switches you just rewired. So you have to put one in the kitchen, in the bedroom, in the bathroom, in the living room, and anywhere else you want smart home technology. And then step three, you have to pair every single ring, every single switch one by one through another app. And just the first step of rewiring is about 11 hours or $2,000. And everything I'm describing is best case if you own the home. If you're renting an apartment, there's no solution. If you're traveling, like for work or for pleasure, there's no solution. You can't bring your smart home with you. And so it affects everyone, but it disproportionately affects about 27 million people like me. We're talking anyone with limited mobility. So veteran soldiers, older adults, disabled persons who can spend up to an extra 3.5 to 4 hours at home in certain cases every day. So to solve this, we created the Lotus Ring, which is a wearable ring that controls objects at home by pointing. And we'll show you how it works in a second. But unlike, say, Alexa or any other smart home technology, there's no apps, no rewiring, and no internet. And the easiest way is to sort of just show you. So I'm gonna spotlight myself. So the way it works, step one, there's the Lotus Ring. You just put it on. There's a single button. I'm pointing this single button to the camera. There's only one button on the ring. And when I press it, certain things happen, which I'll explain in a second. But the important part is all you do is put on the ring. That eliminates the need to have a smart speaker in every room of the house because the ring stays on you and goes with you wherever you go. So you don't need smart speakers everywhere. So that's step one. Step two, for any existing wall, so in my hand, I'm currently holding a regular wall switch, and we've attached a little bulb just to pretend that those are the lights in your ceiling or say your fan or anything else that the wall switch controls, like an AC, it doesn't really matter. For any existing wall switch, and this works for all types of wall switches, I'm just showing one, you can attach the Lotus switch cover and it snaps on using magnets. So I'll show it again. You just bring the Lotus switch near the wall switch and it just snaps on using magnets. So that's step two, which is there is no rewiring. You snap the switches on onto existing wall switches. Now, you can also sort of use the wall switch regularly, you or anyone else at home, by just pushing on the switch like you would anyway. So you still have manual control. Or step three, you can just point and click. And so using infrared eliminates the need for any apps or smartphones or internet. So all you do is point and click. That's it. Or you can manually use it. So step one, put on the ring. Step two, snap on the Lotus switch cover. And step three, point and click. And this is also true for the other type of wall switch, which is the toggle. You can see that all it's doing is it's physically moving the wall switch. So you can snap it on and you can use the Lotus ring, and that's that. And that's it. Essentially, you can convert any space into an accessible space in seconds. So there's the social model of disability, and you can take it with you wherever you go. And so with this, as of today, we can control anything that a wall switch controls, which is obviously lights, but also fans, also appliances like a window AC. In addition to anything that a wall switch controls, because we're using infrared, we can also control televisions. So if I double click, you can actually turn on and off televisions as well. I'll pause. I've thrown a ton of information, but like I promised, I'll just give sort of a quick 2-minute overview. And I figured it's just easier if we just sort of have a conversation and people can ask questions.
Great. So that is so exciting. We're going to open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Hello, my name's Corey McKittrick. I'm the executive director of the Alliance of Disability Advocates in North Carolina. I just want to say that looks absolutely amazing. It's unreal. The not having to do with wiring or anything like that is crazy. I am truly upset. I was at Nickel and I saw your table and I was like, oh, what is this? And someone told me that, oh, that's a ring that you can monitor like your heart rate and all that kind of stuff with. And so I was like, oh, I'm not interested in that. So I am so disappointed that I didn't just go find out for myself.
Yeah, it's quite common. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, it just looks incredible. This is so incredible. Like,
You're too kind. It's a common thing that comes up because now there are a ton of, I'll call them quote smart health rings. Everything from Aura to Samsung. Yeah, they're basically all different versions of, say, the Apple Watch or Fitbit. So yeah, it's quite a common thing that happens where people assume that that's the case. But yeah, I mean, the next time we see you, you're welcome to try one, so you can try it on for yourself. But thank you, Corey. Appreciate the kind words.
I do have a question. My name is Sarah. I work at the Assistive Technology program here in North Carolina. Um, First, what is the range? So, like, how far do you have to be from the device?
Yeah, so you can be as close as you want. In terms of how far, we guarantee up to 30 feet. In fact, in our testing, we see actually we're just doing this today. In our testing, we see up to 38 feet, but we guarantee 30 feet minimum. So even if you're 30 feet away, it'll still continue to work. But like I said, in our testing, we've seen it work up to 38 feet. So not just a room, even a small, like a large hall, diagonally, it will still continue to work.
Okay. All right. And also, you mentioned it can turn on the TV, which is like a huge thing I see with clients that I work with. They're trying to get that TV on and then they can't get to it. Is that like a separate adapter that goes somewhere on the TV for it to work
Nope.
or?
Actually, the next thing is it's a great question. So for the TV, you don't even need this second half because we're already using infrared and all TVs already come equipped with infrared. And so we can just natively control TV. You don't even need this.
Wow. Okay.
But just to sort of set expectations, our Gen 1 product can only do on and off.
Hmm.
In Gen 2, we can actually do left, right is change channel, and front and back is increase, decrease volume. And so part of the reason to do that is that way you can also dim lights. You could also dim things like, change settings for a fan. It doesn't have to just be on or off. And so that's the idea. And so we're going to keep it so that it's just on off, left and right can be something, and front and back can be increase, decrease, whatever it is. So in the case of a TV, it's volume. For lights, it would be lights, etc.
Okay. And how does the device charge and like kind of what's the life on the
Great
battery?
question. Great question. I feel like Sarah's a plant. Sarah, oh, it's a great question. So, the ring actually comes with a charger, and so you just drop it on, and it snaps on using magnets, and then it charges. And so the nice thing about the ring is, unlike actually Corey was just talking about this, unlike say the Apple Watch that you have to charge every day, or an Aura ring, or any of the other rings that you have to charge every 3 days, you only need to charge the ring once in 90 days. 90. The ring and the switch cover. And the reason is it's only taking power for 50 milliseconds that you push the button. Just for that snap second, it's taking power. The rest of the time, it's not taking power to stay connected to the internet or anything, right? Because it's completely offline. So the nice benefit of that is it's sort of like your TV remote. When was the last time you remember even having changed the batteries? So it's very similar.
Okay.
I have
I'll
a
let somebody
question.
else.
Thank you, Sarah.
Again,
Please keep your questions coming.
okay. I'm Rita Connolly. I had said earlier, I'm a CODA. I am opening my new mobile OT business and focusing on independent living, aging in place, that sort of thing. And I have SB, spina bifida. Deval, I sympathize with what you were saying about getting into bed. Oh my God, I've done this so many times. So I have a weird question. So I turn on my fan and my light, or turn off my lights when I get into bed, right?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to do like multiple, would I get myself like a whole bunch of rings and really look like
It's
but like
actually
how
a
does that?
great, yeah, it's a great question. So the way I'll choose to answer this is there is no pairing. So any ring works with any wall switch, and any wall switch can work with any ring. In fact, your ring can work in, say, your parents' home, and your parents' rings can work in your home, and vice versa. It's like a telephone. The more people that have it, the more beneficial your own device gets. So to translate that in your situation, the nice thing about the ring is only you can have many in your same room. You don't
Uh,
need multiple rings, but you need one wall switch cover for every wall switch you are trying to control. But you don't
I
need as many rings. Just in terms of a lot of people like to say, one ring to rule them all, which is you just need one ring. You don't need many, many rings. You just need which cover for anything that you're trying to control. Now, the nice thing is only you can have many in the same room, but only the thing you're pointing to will turn on and off. So you can have, let's say, a light switch to your left, a TV in the front, and a fan switch to your right. And only what you're pointing to will turn on and off. And you don't have to aim. It's just as long as you're pointed in the general direction, that thing will turn on and off, but the other ones won't. That was the hard part about the engineering.
Awesome. Okay, I was hoping that was the case.
The
Thank
idea was,
you.
yeah, absolutely. It was a great question. Essentially, what we wanted to avoid was having to need an app. And in fact, for the first 9 months, all I was doing was research. Natalie was one of our interviewees. These were very long interviews, about 9 hours long. And one of the most common pieces of feedback we got were A, I have too many apps on my phone. I don't want another app. Or B, I actually don't want to use anything that needs a display, either on a phone or a watch, because it needs two hands and
Hmm.
I have to hit the device simultaneously. Both, not one, either or, both conditions must be true simultaneously. So if you can't use two hands because you've had a stroke or quadriplegia, or you just, you're holding groceries or something, or a child, like you're babysitting, even if you can look at your device, you can't use it. Or if both your hands are free, but you're looking somewhere else, like if you have small children at home or you just happen to look away, then you can't use it. And so the most common request was, can you build something that can be used with one hand without looking at the device and while I am still in bed? And of course, the only thing that people wore to bed, people would take off their watches, people take off their necklaces, earrings, everything came off except their wedding rings. And so that's why we created a ring, because you can use it with one hand without looking at the device and keep it on in bed. And so that's why. Thank you, Rita, for the question.
Sure.
Hi,
Thank you.
I'm Susan Silver. Um, Here in Wilmington, we're developing a community of housing, affordable housing for um, seniors, moderate income seniors, and younger people with disabilities. So both populations are typically in need of these sorts of things. And we anticipate building in a lot of smart technology as a way of supporting those tenants. So, Deval, clearly you're genius. I mean, there's no way around that. Um,
You're good.
but I have sort of two categories of questions. One is the ring currently marketed, and at what cost, and how does one acquire it? So that's one aspect. And the other is that we anticipate monitoring a number of things beyond what you might think of as typical smart home. So, for example, there are devices that, unless you can do better, we would expect to implement, like emergency stove and water shut off and
Yeah.
small fall detection and those kinds of things that go several steps beyond um, lights and that sort of thing. So I'm just betting that you're seeing well beyond lights. So I just was interested on the marketing and cost side, and also on the future development side, what we could expect and when.
Great question. You're all plants. I'm convinced. I'll talk about the roadmap in a second. So yeah, at the moment we can control whatever the wall switch controls. So it's lights, but also fans, also appliances. Like I said, AC is the most common example in rental apartments, uh, and TVs. So that's everything we can control as of this moment, like immediately right now. In terms of how you can acquire the device, so the part of the reason I'm here in China is I'm currently setting up our manufacturing, which will then later transition to Mexico, but for the timing, it's here. And so we're actually launching roughly a month from now. So we can actually you can go to the website now. So the website is getlotus.com. That's GETLOTUS, like the flower, getlotus.com. And one of the things we promised Gloria and Monique was anyone that attends today can actually go to the website. You can put your name on there on the wait list. It's totally free. We're not charging anyone anything right now. If you put your name down, we'll actually send you details on Labor Day weekend. And instead of getting it at the retail price, you'll get $50 off. So normally for folks, it'll be available for $349, which is a pack. So one ring and three switch covers would be for $349. But for anyone attending here that goes on the website now and puts their email down on the wait list, which is totally free, we'll send you information on how you can get it for $299. And so it'll be $299 for one ring and three switch covers, which is usually the same price point as a single Amazon Echo Show. So instead of one smart speaker, you end up with a smart home, quote unquote. So that's how you can acquire it now, which means around Labor Day, you can go on the website. You'll get an email from us if you sign up now where you can purchase it for $299. So then you can actually put in pre-orders. We'll start shipping in the end of September. In terms of what's coming down the pipeline, so everything I just described, phase one is just point and click, right? And so whatever you're pointing to will turn on and off. At the moment, what you can control is anything controlled by a wall switch. So like I said, that's lights, fans, appliances, plus TVs. So that's today. Next up, we already have working prototypes that can control anything that plugs into a wall. So anything like a plug-in wall lamp, a plug-in fan, a coffee maker, really anything that plugs into the wall, it doesn't matter. And so you can control those as well. After that, we're working on drapes, followed by doors. And the reason for that is those are the objects you interact with every day, all the time. Because there's 6 things everyone's got to do every day, which is eat, go to the bathroom, shower, change your clothes. And to do those 4 things, you typically transition out of bed and move around the house. But to do those, you need light. You have to switch rooms, meaning open and close doors. And whichever room you end up in, you have to usually control something like your fan or AC. And so those are the things, the categories that we're focused on. So today, anything that a wall switch controls, really soon after, maybe in 6 months, anything that a wall switch controls, then drapes, then doors. So that's phase one. Phase two, the way you control them, we're adding optionalities. So today, for anyone who can use it, is point and click. And the reason is it's the least cognitive effort and least physical effort, simple to use and easy to understand. But if you couldn't do that for some reason, then you'll also be able to use, instead of fine motor control, you'll be able to use gross motor control. So you can use gestures for someone, say, with arthritis. Actually, even for most folks with arthritis now, they can actually do this. We've actually even given this to folks with MS, MD. If necessary, they use their other hand, or for folks using wheelchairs, sometimes they use their knee. So we've actually already given this to folks. But for whatever reason, if you absolutely couldn't use your thumb, then you can actually use gross motor control. Now, if you couldn't even do that, let's say you've had a stroke, can't use your arm at all, then we can also enable voice to control the same objects. So that's all of that is phase two, which is additional ways. It's a combination of universal design and inclusive design. And so that's phase two. Phase three, we then start talking about other avenues, which is, Susan, kind of some of the things you were talking about, which is the most common request we get is, hey, I don't live with my older parents or older grandparents. I would love to gift this to them to help them age in place or live more independently. But I would also love some knowledge knowing that they're okay. So can the ring somehow tell me that they're doing okay? And so that's phase three. And so that's kind of what's coming down the roadmap. Hopefully, did I answer your question, Susan?
Yeah, you sure did. And you've probably had other requests, but if you would like a site to roll these things out and gather information and sort of be a showplace, we'd be happy to talk to you. We're on track probably to be out of the ground and with residents in the next year approximately.
Oh,
So
gotcha. We should here, I'll put my email down,
okay.
and Natalie, you can put yours down as well. And Susan, I would say just email us after this, and we're happy to take it from there.
All right, sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Other questions? Hopefully, I didn't put people to sleep.
No, this is fantastic, very exciting. So I'm just going to throw out some appliances that come to mind that I think of that sometimes, especially if you're living in a home or an apartment that's not accessible. And I so appreciate the fact that you acknowledge, and part of your design concept is a lot of people live in rental units and can't always get the accommodation request from the landlord. And if they do, they still have to pay for it. Um, so this ring would control turning on a washer and a dryer since it's plugged into the wall.
Yes. And so not for phase one, which is what we have right now, but in about 6 months, yes. It's anything
Okay,
that, yeah.
great, great. Um, what about Um, so an oven is obviously something that must come in phase one or later, because of course, not only are you turning on the oven, but then you have to do the setting. And
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah, okay,
The way I like to think about it is anything for which you can think of having a remote, like appliances that typically already have a remote, instead of needing another remote, one for each appliance, you can just control it with a ring. And so usually appliances for which you may have a remote already, that makes sense to use at a distance. Like one of the more common ones that we've seen people talk about is air purifiers, where for folks using a wheelchair, it's sometimes a bit tricky if you actually have to lean over, especially because they may fall over or they may get stuck, because the button to turn on and off the air purifier is on top, right? It's like, it's the size of a trash can, it's the button on top. And so that's something you want to be able to control at a distance to just turn it on or off as needed. Same with sort of white noise machines, things like that. So it doesn't really matter what it is, but yeah, you can turn on and off anything at a distance.
great. Very excited. Thank you. Anybody else have questions?
I have a question about how you mentioned it could control appliances at some point. Like, she mentioned the washer, dryer, stove. How would that work? I guess because like the actual appliance would be blocking, the like
Oh, great question. Sarah, you should have to join Lotus at this point. An engineer. It's actually a great question. So for kind of the second set of products, which is anything that plugs into a wall, we actually have the sensor is not attached to the socket. So you would plug something into the wall, but we have a flexible sensor that you can just place on top. So we've provided some of these we constantly give this out to people because we believe in human-centered design. So we usually make prototypes, give them to people to give us feedback and so on. And so one of the pieces of feedback we got early on was, hey, the socket is behind something, usually like a couch or a table, and low to the floor.
Mhm.
Can you make it so that the sensor is not there? It's somewhere else that's more accessible. And so that's actually how it works. So the socket plugs into the wall, wherever you plug into the wall, but there's a flexible piece that you can actually clip on or stick on anything. I sort of don't have it on me, otherwise I would just show you. But that can go anywhere. And so that sensor can be placed on top. So the situation I'm thinking about right now is we had a lady who has limited mobility, has an aquarium that has a light. And the aquarium, it's actually not the light she's controlling, it's the whole aquarium. It's like a light and a fountain and a whole bunch of other stuff. And you have to turn it off every night and you have to turn it back on every morning. But the problem is all of the switches were behind this couch and this table. So it's very, very inaccessible and painful for her. She has two little daughters. And so she actually kept the sensor right next to the aquarium, even though the aquarium actually plugs in behind the couch into the wall. And so you could actually then turn on and off this aquarium completely remotely on her way to bed every night. And as soon as she woke up in the morning, she would turn it back on. So she didn't have to lean over the couch or this table and sort of bend down. So 100% to your question, the sensor and the socket are not in the same place. You can put the sensor anywhere.
Interesting. So like, I'm thinking usually in a laundry room, or even a kitchen, you have appliances like next to each other.
Yeah.
So would you have to be more precise in where you're aiming in order to
Good
get it to
question.
just activate one?
So when I say you have to aim, you don't really have to aim. Basically, the way we've designed it is it's sort of like a flashlight. As long
Hmm.
as you generally point in the right direction, it covers a cone, like it covers a small circle, roughly speaking, it depends on distance, but roughly a foot in diameter. So,
Okay.
and, as long as there's one thing in that range, you'll turn it on. I mean, you don't really have to aim or hunt for
Right.
it. Like as long as like you're pointed a flashlight in that direction, you're good. Anything outside of that will not get triggered. And so then you can control as many things as you want. So
Okay.
flashlight, best analogy.
All right. So just to like have that in mind as you're like setting it up to kind of set those apart.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Um, Another question. So I hope this is okay for me to share up here, but we have an expo that we do every single year. So I work out of the Greenville office, which is on the eastern part of North Carolina. But we cover the entire state. So across the state, we have 9 centers. And in each of these centers, we have demo rooms where we basically show a lot of AT to people that come in, professionals, users of AT, really anybody. But one of the things that we do every year is our expo. So there's about 40 vendors. And last year we had around, I want to say like 350 to 400 people at our expo, where we basically try to bring in the latest and greatest tech. Like, would that be something that you guys could come to? Or, I know it's in October, so I'm not sure, how far out your schedule.
It's funny, Gloria and Monique, we were just talking about that before everyone joined, which is all the other kind of conferences and expos that we come to. Yeah, Sarah, if you share your email, and maybe email if you just message Natalie and myself right now, or just share it in chat,
Okay.
we reach out and we can sort of help figure out coordination. We're still figuring out our schedule, but in general, we would love to. In fact, to be completely honest and vulnerable, we're a fairly early stage company. We're still trying to get the word out. Like Corey was saying, it's quite common that people assume that it's one of the health rings, and there's a ton of them out there now. And so one of the things, because we're so early, we basically can't afford advertising. And so yeah, we're more than happy to kind of come to expos, especially for AT, to come and share sort of what this new tech is and what it can do. So yeah, more than happy to talk further about it.
Okay, cool. I'll put my email in the chat and then we can connect and I can connect you with the person who's coordinating that. So that'd be great.
Absolutely. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah.
We promise Sarah is not a paid representative. She's been asking a ton of questions that are very relevant. Thanks, Sarah.
This is Monique. I don't have a question, but I do have a comment because I did get to demo it at the Nickel conference. And with me being a quadriplegic, I can see my hands, but very floppy fingers. I have no dexterity. I was able to aim and point at the lamp at the expo. I mean at the conference and push the button. I just use one hand and just kind of if I press it against my chest, it worked. So I'm excited. I need it in my house now.
This makes me very, very happy. Natalie knows this. I have a fair bit of imposter syndrome. In fact, the reason I was doing 9 months of interviews, I was convinced when I first thought of it, I was only thinking for me. I was convinced this was the stupidest idea in the world. I was convinced this was the worst idea on the planet because everything was internet connected. Why would you use this technology, in theory, that's at least 30 years old, where of course there's much more modern variations of it. And so I was convinced it was a terrible, terrible idea. So I have a fair bit of imposter syndrome. So thank you, Monique. I appreciate the kind words.
Oh, it's genius.
You're very kind.
Yeah. This is Gloria. I agree. I think it's just going to be a game changer for a lot of people. Um, and it's simple too. Um, One of the questions I just thought of, because I'm thinking about things within my own home. Um, so back to the idea about where you might be using an extension cord that's plugged into your wall and is operating multiple things. Will it work with that too? Like,
So there's nothing stopping it from doing that. You just have to figure out how to use it. So if if say five devices were plugged into an extension cord and the extension cord was plugged into, say, a Lotus plug, you would be turning on all five things on and all five things off. If that works for you, you're welcome to use it. If you're trying to control just one, then maybe you'd have to figure out a different configuration. It would still work. You just have to figure out a different configuration to do so. There's nothing that would limit it for that matter. It'll work. But it depends on your use case.
okay, great. Uh, I hope you don't mind. Sarah, there was a question in the chat about if you could tell people a little bit more information about the expo coming up in October. And just so anybody on this call is aware, we will be including information about the expo in our next newsletter. But Sarah, please take this time to explain what the expo is.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually saw that and I was putting the event page in the chat, but we do this expo every year, usually the first week in October. This year it's October 3rd, which I think, yeah, October 3rd. It's a Thursday. It's all day. I think it's from like 9 to 4 or something, but I'll put the flyer in here. And it's free for the audience participants to come to. We do giveaways. We have presentations lined up throughout the day. I want to say, like I said, we have about 40 plus vendors who come out on all different categories of assistive technology. And people are given an opportunity to join in on the presentation sessions, to look at our big exhibition hall. We try to do giveaways throughout it. It's really a great opportunity to just learn about what's out there. It's usually always centrally located, so it's in Raleigh, North Carolina. Um, and it's at the McKim Center, if anybody's familiar with Raleigh. I don't know if anybody, oh, somebody said they had adaptive sports booth last year. Yeah, I was actually really sad because I missed last year's because I had bronchitis, so I couldn't go. Um, so yeah, I didn't get to see that, but I think we did a few pop-ups throughout the year. Um and they were all focused on recreation and gaming pop-ups, adapted sports. And I want to say adaptive sports maybe had a booth at one of them. So I wonder if so Corey, I wonder if we had seen you at one of our pop-ups.
The one last year in Raleigh at the McKinnon Center, that was the first one that I was at. We had our sled hockey team and then a wheelchair basketball team and then adaptive rock climbing.
Yeah,
So we had all three there set with the equipment and things. We weren't trying to sell any equipment or anything,
right.
just information.
Yeah, and that we have so we have vendors, but then we also have services, a certain amount of services for people who to just share their resources. But I will put the flyer and our event page in the chat. And our event page has a few details from this year's as far as vendors, but you can also look at like last year's and it'll kind of give you an idea of how we set up and who we have there and stuff.
It's just Glory. I have to just reiterate, it's very diverse. I mean, we have representatives there for services for the blind, the deaf and hard of hearing, technology, and um, everything, every kind of disability that you can think of. There is something there for everybody. So
We try to be diverse. We try to include everything. So we're excited. We're excited. This is going to be a fun one. I think we're going to have like an Apple lab. So Apple will be there and they'll have like a specific lab. So to kind of like a demo room for people to go in and play with stuff. So that I think that's new because I don't think we had that last year.
okay, well,
Like what Corey put in the chat, because I believe this will end up helping people all over the world. I agree. Like in a major way.
Thank you, Corey.
Oh yeah,
Well,
I mean, as Monique probably knows, there are SCI groups at least for me, that I'm on Facebook and they're from all over the world. I mean, it does have the potential, like she said, to just be everywhere. You know, it's going to be great, Deval.
Yeah.
Uh, thank you. Oh, you
Well,
guys are so sweet.
well, we are so excited that we had the opportunity to have you come and share this amazing technology with us today. And we cannot wait to spread the word. Um, we will be making this recording available to all of the people who attended today. And feel free to share it. But are there any other questions before we let Natalie and Deval go back to work or to sleep?
I just want to thank you. It's awesome. And I do believe it's going to help a lot of people. I think we'll all be able to say we met that guy one day. That's like,
Oh, you just made
Yeah,
my moment.
yeah,
Thank you.
I
You guys are
agree,
so
Corey.
kind.
Yeah, and you know what, it all goes through my mind is so much of the technology that becomes available that's designed to help people with disabilities in mind specifically really helps all people. Um,
I was just, you
and
beat me to the punch. I was going to say before we end, maybe I'll just share a little bit of our mission. Our mission statement is we build tech that anybody can use by optimizing for disability first. And because exactly, Gloria, to your point, by solving for disability, you solve for everybody. And so our thesis is we build tech that anyone can use by optimizing for disability first. So you don't have to be disabled in order to benefit, but if you are, it benefits you even more, and it helps everybody in the process. So why not? So everyone from permanent disability to temporary to situational, whether it's temporary for pregnancy or situational because you're in a meeting like a Zoom call, or it's
yeah,
just cold where you're at. So yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of the mission.
Well, it was a real honor to have you here with us today, and I'm glad that you were kicking off our series. What a great way to start.
Well, it's an honor
So
and a
thank
privilege to
you.
be here. Thank you. Thank you so much. Natalie, anything you want to share or add?
No, this has been incredible. Thank you all for having us. Gloria, I can send you a bunch of resources and information sheets as well, if you don't mind sending those out to the group.
Yes, please
Yeah, and then
do.
that way, when you tell people about it, they won't think we're just another Aura ring. You can send them the materials and they'll know.
Yes, that might be your biggest challenge, that somebody will just dismiss it as one of those aura rings.
Well, Corey, the next time we see you, you have to try one.
Yes.
absolutely, absolutely.
Well, it's an
Okay.
honor and a privilege to have been here. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thanks for everyone who joined the call today. And we hope you'll come back for our September or October sessions. And, always check our website or sign up to follow us on our newsletter or social media. We'd love to be more involved and share not only great information like you heard today, but some resources and information that's available to you locally through the Centers for Independent Living in your local region. So have a wonderful day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Wonderful to see you guys.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, well, thank you, Natalie. I
Natalie.
think that was a huge hit.
Yeah, let me know if there's anything else you need. Is that okay, Gloria, if I just send you sort of our
Yes,
shared?
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you
We
again.
have we were actually talking about this earlier at 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock. We are getting ready to do our next newsletter. And it's going to go out the first week of September. And we plan to include the link to the recording in the newsletter, so it'll go out to a lot of people. And if you want to send me those attachments or anything that you want us to, highlight, um, there'll probably be some things that we'll insert in there, like this is not your Aura ring. This is
Yeah.
incredible. Yeah. Because I have to admit, when I first walked by the table too, it's like, oh, why is Aura here? And it wasn't until I went up there, it's like, oh my gosh, this is no Aura.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So,
And we'd love to pay it forward too and do the same and include anything that you have coming up in our newsletter as well. If you're just trying to get the word out, we're always happy to include any blurb, even about the Lunch and Learn series. I don't know how much of we have about 5,000 people on our list. I'm sure a good chunk of them are in North Carolina. So we're happy to, you said the next Lunch and Learn series is September, correct?
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
we're happy to spread the word on that as well.
Okay. Well, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you
Well,
both. You know what, Devils, we're supposed to have a meeting now, so I need to catch him while he's
okay.
still awake in the
No
middle of
problem.
it. Thank you so much. It's nice seeing you both.
Thank you, Natalie.
Bye.
Okay. So Monique, we'll
Okay.
take a quick break.
Yes.
And then I'll jump back on. You want to do Zoom or just a phone call?
We can do Zoom. That's
Okay.
fine.
All
Yep.
right. Well,
Now,
I'll see you
I have a
back.
link now.
All right. Well, I'll see you back at 2.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.